Gonk, 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 gonk.
Thank you, Gonk.
Gonk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Badonkagonk
Badonkagonk.
podcast, where today we have some more Han Solo related things. We had the book Most Wanted.
Most Wanted. Yes. Yes, sir.
So we're going to be talking about that. If you read that, we'll probably be talking about it, taking questions and that kind of stuff too, seeing what chat has to say.
Will on YouTube said, "This is my first live Badonkagonk. I finally finished a book before the stream." He did his homework.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
I finished it as well.
Yes, me too.
So we have that. We also had some other Han Solo stuff we wanted to talk about a little bit, and probably also try to get into some questions if we have time.
Yep.
We'll see how that
We're
goes.
going to be talking about our favorite Han Solo moments. Spiderweb. We need to clean this ship out. Our favorite Han Solo moments, and then also some details about the Solo a Star Wars story that you probably didn't know. And by finding that standard, I really just mean I looked up a bunch of stuff, and anything that I personally didn't know, I put on the list.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
All right.
it'll probably have something in there that you didn't know.
Okay. Well, that sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
I also watched Solo. If not most of it, I watched. If not all of it, I watched most of it because I was watching it when I was going to sleep.
I put it up there. It's my S rank in terms of most underrated Star Wars movie.
Yeah. No, I really like it.
It's so good.
I think it's really good.
love that
I like the
movie.
characters. I like the story for it and everything. Like
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun.
So you watched it recently? You watched it with your kids?
I mean, I did
Or
back when we were going
Back in the day.
through.
Okay, gotcha.
We stopped watching the Star Wars stuff at the. I think we had the last season of The Mandalorian we were needing to watch. I think we were watching that at the time, and
Gotcha,
we
okay.
haven't picked it back up.
Yeah, I haven't got.
So we haven't seen Ahsoka. We haven't seen the last Mandalorian episode. We watched Book of Boba.
Mhm.
That might have been the last thing we watched. So we also we didn't watch the sequel trilogy either.
Gotcha.
And I don't think I've watched those really since the theaters. Maybe I've probably seen Force Awakens a time or two, but I don't think I've watched Jedi or Rise.
Really?
I think I've only seen Rise in theaters the one or two times.
Yeah.
I think we saw it twice, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we saw it for reviews, and then we watched it again with like Community or something.
Definitely, the older I get, the less I rewatch stuff. But I don't know if that's necessarily like it's a young person's game to rewatch stuff, or if there's just so much to watch now compared to whenever we were kids. That why would you ever rewatch something?
Sure.
You know?
I often don't rewatch things too often. Going to bed, I'll put on Star Wars as like a comfort show that I'm like, I know it enough, so I'm not gonna try to stay awake
Sure,
to
I
watch
getcha.
it or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
I have those.
but yeah, there's just so much to watch and so little time to do it, and so many games to play and so little time to do that. I still haven't played Outlaws, so yeah, there's a lot of things I need to do still. I also got a Gorman shirt, which is really cool.
That's a
we got
cool
this in
shirt.
mailbag, and right now I forget who it was that sent it. So thank you, whoever. that was.
Scallywag Deep said, I haven't watched any Andor. I like more of the action stuff over the drama. Scallywag, you don't understand that shirt. You got to watch Andor, man. Look high and look low for all different types of Star Wars and Star Wars stories. Go watch Andor, and then you can appreciate Aaron's shirt even more. Or if you were a fan of old Legends, you can maybe kind of get it too.
All right. We need to get into some of the conversations of things. If you guys have any questions on Twitch, make sure you use the channel points in the bottom, and we'll get to those as we go on, especially if they are related to the conversation. We'll try to get the extra random ones later at the end of everything.
Yeah, I say we get started with the book.
Book first, okay?
I would say so. Now, I kind of want to start this podcast. I'm actually quite excited by this podcast because when I talk about all the things I love about Star Wars, Han Solo's not necessarily the first thing that pops up for me.
Sure.
You know, I think when people are growing up, they try to find themselves in Star Wars or whatever they're watching. And I was very much the farm boy looking to the horizon, seeing what's out there. I wasn't necessarily the Han Solo kid, you know?
Sure, I get what you mean. I think that with Star Wars, a lot of people think of the Jedi, the light side, the dark side, right? Like Force wielders and that kind of stuff, and like the mystical aspect of it, but not always the like just the people, the normal people that don't have Force powers and stuff, you know? So I can understand like maybe Han Solo is not the first thing that someone thinks of, but there's also some really cool characters in the Star Wars universe that don't have Force powers, you know?
And it's fun, especially with a character like Han, to like, especially as I grow up, I'm like, oh, I see little bits of him in me now. So, yeah, it's going to be cool. We're going to be talking about Most Wanted by Ray Carson. I don't remember the author right now.
Sounds right. Unless that's the next book, and that's what I'm thinking of.
No, the next book. Spoilers, Aaron.
I'm sorry. I was opening it up to look. It is by. Who's it by?
Gonk, 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 gonk.
Star Wars Most Wanted. Ray Carson.
Ray Carson.
Yep, Ray
Oh,
Carson.
thank God I was right. It was a long time to be wrong.
Yeah, right?
Ray Carson. So yeah, Aaron. Most Wanted.
Wanted. So
I'm
this-
always very interested in your book reviews.
This-
I feel like I really enjoy your book reviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine.
I want to know. This is a young adult novel.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily feel like it was like young. You know what
I
I mean?
always feel
like,
that way, honestly.
Really? That it was
Yeah.
a young.
I think like young adult novels, a lot of people will kind of hear that and be like, not for me, you know, like I'm old now, you know, something like that. But young adult generally just means like, what are the characters' viewpoints? Like,
Sure.
are they aspiring for something or are they looking back? And generally,
Yeah.
young adult, they're aspiring for
Well,
something.
like what are they here? They're like 17, 18. Like this is before Solo. I
is-
think they're like 18 in Solo.
I believe this is the same year that
the same
the
year that
prologue-
Solo
yeah, that
starts.
Solo starts.
Because then there's like a jump for like 3 or 4 years.
There's 3-year jump in the Solo movie. Yeah.
So this takes place, I don't know, then at least a little bit before.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like the next thing that happens is the book or the movie from the book, but
It's close. It would be close.
it's
Yeah.
it's in the same year of it then.
Yeah.
No, I mean this was I think this book was interesting. Like I spent half of the book where I wasn't taking notes because I was like cleaning the house and just listening to it, and I just kept going through this book for like I said, half of it, and I was just like, man, this is really good. I'm really liking it. Like I really enjoyed the general story. I kept thinking of what is it, Alden Aaron, right?
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Right. I kept thinking of him while I was like listening to
Absolutely.
him as Han and everything. I kept thinking of Kira, Daenerys, that actress.
Amelia Clark.
Amelia Clark, yeah. I kept thinking of her and stuff too. Like I thought the
Naturally, yeah.
characters for them in this book, like I can picture this being like a young Han Solo.
Yeah.
Um,
I felt very similar to whenever we read Rebel Rising.
mm,
Because when I watch Rogue One before reading Rebel Rising, I have like an idea of Jyn Erso. I'm like, okay, yeah, I kind of vibe with her character and stuff. But then when I bring all that other stuff with her and rewatch that movie,
sure.
I'm like, oh man, I love Jyn Erso. And then I put on Solo last night after I had finished the book and everything, and I was just, I was vibing with especially Kira way more than I ever have.
I do think this helps build a lot more on
yeah.
Kira, because like Han Solo, you already have like Han Solo from the trilogy, right? The original trilogy. So like
You
this
know
is
where
like,
he's going,
This is
yeah.
like you're getting an idea of who he was when he was younger.
Yeah.
Whereas Kira is a new character and you don't really know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know why she's like, why is she important or mean anything to Han Solo, you know?
Yeah.
And in this one, like you get introduced to them. Like you're like they've known each other, but they haven't really like known each other. And this is them getting to know each other
Yeah, so
and
just-
having like their first actual like adventure together.
So just like in the beginning of that movie, they are scrum rats for the White Worms, which is a lowly gang in the depths of Corellia.
Yeah, in the
and
sewers.
because the Grindelids, which are the leaders of the White Worms, is what they're named for, the White Worm characters. They can't like go out in the sunlight. They have to recruit like humans and other characters that can go up and do their seedy stuff.
The guy who was like they had hounds and stuff in the movie, like he was like covered and stuff, and like was he one of the Grindelids in since he was all covered?
Yeah,
Did
his
they
name
talk-
is Moloch.
Moloch. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. They mentioned him in this book.
They mentioned
too.
Moloch.
'Cause-
And then Bolt, Rebolt is the guy that has the hounds too.
The
that's
hounds.
following them.
And is he in
Yeah.
Solo then too?
Yeah,
Because they
Rebolt's
mentioned
in
him,
there.
and
Yeah.
and I know that there were hounds there.
Yeah, no,
So-
he is that character. He's got a
Okay.
funny hat. He's. It was really rewarding too, having studied for the Schmodown for this movie, to be like, know that guy, know that guy, know that guy, but only because I know these little tiny details,
Sure,
like
yeah.
I did back in the day.
Yeah, well, we went through and like the first scene I thought was fun because it has like Han trying to sneak back in.
Yeah.
But he meets like this random guy,
Yeah.
Palo, and
Palo, yeah.
I was like, is that someone I should know? Like every time they mention someone, I'm like, should I know who this person is? But like that scene there, like I kept thinking of like young Han Solo from Solo movie, but then I was also trying to think about Harrison Ford's like
Sure.
portrayal of him in like when he's older, and try to think about like what he's like now to what he's gonna end up like. Does this pair well with that and stuff too? I did like his this whole book, and Kira talks about it too, is like his friendship that he builds up. Like he treats everyone like a person, and he makes
does.
friends. And he
He
talks
does.
about how like having friends can be good, but having favors is what I'm really looking at.
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
This is
Who's this
Revolt.
Gonk? This is Rebo. Okay, so this is the guy.
That's the funny hat I was talking about.
Okay.
He's the guy that has the hounds, and him and
Yeah.
Moloch, and there's another guy too. They're like looking in the Corellian spaceport for Han.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the scene where they have like the dogs dressed up, you know, to be space dogs.
So this guy in the beginning, after we meet Palo, they meet up at a table, and it's like Kira, Solo, a Rhodian named like Zolo.
His name is Sulo.
Sulo.
Yep.
And then this guy. So okay, so we're getting to see him before all that kind of stuff happens. So, and he doesn't really seem to like Han at all.
No. And that continues. And
then this is Moloch.
That's Moloch,
right?
Yeah. So Moloch is a male Grendelid.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Whereas Proxima is the female.
She's much more wormy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's
This guy has like. This guy doesn't feel as wormy, except his face looks kind of wormy.
Yeah. She's very wormy. She's actually played by Linda Hunt. You would know her probably best from Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, she's the other detective?
She's the other detective.
Oh, really?
That's Lady Proxima.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that.
You just made a sound with your mouth.
Yeah, I love that. But no, like this book here talks about like the friends and the favors. And it really made me think about like Han Solo later on, where like, you know, he's like, oh, Lando, you know, I know a guy over here, like he could help us out. He isn't like this, you know, but like it made me think of like how he acts and interacts with people later on too.
Definitely.
Where like making friends and having favors can be useful, especially as a smuggler.
Sure.
You know?
And he still has a little bit of his naivete, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like it's not until the betrayal of Tobias Beckett in the movie where he really kind of gets to like, hey, I might just, assume everybody is going to betray me and shoot him first, you know?
Which Kira in this book kind of already has that.
Yeah, she does.
But Han doesn't act that way.
Well, we know that Han has a relationship with his father somehow, right? His father grew up with his dad, like, building ships. Mm-hmm. But Kira, that's not the case. Kira's like, she grew up in a thing called the Silo.
Yeah.
Which is a work camp.
When she kind of talks about Lady Proxima as kind of being like a figure, like a mother figure, a leader figure for her, and she trusts her,
and she has an ambition.
Whereas Han Solo's like, they're putting me on this mission because I'm expendable. Yeah. Like it's different. It's weird, I guess, because they both have a different look at Lady Proxima, even though they have a different outlook of anyone else. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like Han Solo looks at people. He has Tool, is this robot that he meets, that he's known and is like a friend to him, and kind of starts this whole adventure for him because of what happens with like the little cube. But there's the people at the racing hangar that he meets when he's like trying to like put that one dude in the other car or whatever. Like there's different people he has that like he has met and he trusts enough or is able to like talk his way out of. Whereas Kira like doesn't trust anybody, but she trusts Lady Proxima. But Han doesn't trust Lady Proxima. He's like, I'm expendable. That's why she's sending me on this mission. Yeah. So it's interesting how they have different viewpoints on both of those aspects. So,
yeah, the silo where Proxima gets her out of there. It's funny that she refers to it as Corellian hell, and then I think that's what like Han is evoking when he says, "Then I'll see you in hell."
Is the silo?
That's Corellian hell?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Though Kira does say it was worse than hell.
Worse than hell.
Yeah.
So, but no, I thought like meeting Kira in this gave us a lot. Like, her story and her viewpoints that we get of Han Solo, I really like too.
Agreed.
Like she talks about how where she's a plan person, he doesn't have plans and he works on instinct. Yeah. And I was like, that's an interesting way to picture Han Solo, where it's like he's never really making a plan. He goes with the flow and he makes an instinct on where he's at with things. And it kind of works for flying too. Like if he's meant to be a good pilot, him relying on instinct versus like a plan. Like if you're going through an asteroid field, you can't really plan that.
I mean,
you know, like
if he was force sensitive, it'd be over. Like that's a Jedi Qui-Gon living force thing to like be in the moment and use your instinct. And who does that better than Han Solo, the guy that doesn't believe in it?
Sure, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I thought like the comparisons with a lot of that was really good. Trying to compare him to like young Han and Harrison in the trilogy was really cool.
Yeah, sure.
I liked one of my favorite parts of this book was he talks about wanting to be a pilot.
Yeah.
And they get into a speeder. Like he's building a speeder, but it's like not good. Has no engine, I think it was. Yeah. So they borrow someone else's speeder or take it, and Kira's flying, but then like when he gets it, like Kira's like I should not have been flying. It should have been you. You work on this so much better. And it leads more into the idea of being a pilot. And I think it's kind of interesting because we don't, especially in Harrison Ford like trilogy, how often do we really get to see Han Solo like fly? And I think the only time really is the asteroid field. You know what I mean? Like through the first one, like he flies away. Like, I know some moves, and they kind of just drift a little bit to the side, you know. Like, but during the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back, like you get to see him actually like flying, and like they even go back at the Star Destroyer at one point, you know. Like that segment there is like the most Han Solo flying we get.
You're right, yeah.
Whereas like in this book, like we get that moment with the speeder and like the chase and trying to get away from like the police or whatever they are, kind of people that are trying to catch him and stuff. And I just thought like the instincts he has here, I like getting because in Solo, is it just the Kessel Run that he flies? He does fly at the train heist a little, and he does a good job there.
He also he is trained as an Imperial pilot, but they cut that segment
and they kicked him out too, right?
Yeah, he gets kicked out
because he wouldn't follow orders or wasn't a loyalist or whatever.
We'll have you flying in no time.
But yeah, I don't know.
I get you.
For him being a pilot,
I guess one thing to consider is like, he's going through that asteroid field. You can be like, well, we saw Obi-Wan in like the Geonosian ring asteroid field. That's not a big deal. But you gotta remember, like he's flying the Falcon.
Yeah, without the Force.
Yeah, and like the Falcon is like if the Jedi Interceptor that Obi-Wan's flying is like a F1 car, like he's flying an 18-wheeler.
Yeah,
and he's doing all that shit.
Yeah.
So it's still, it's even more difficult to fly a freighter like the Falcon through that type of thing. So.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. I do kind of wish we
just don't get a lot of flying with him, you know?
Yeah.
Even taking the Falcon in the sequel trilogy, I think we mainly see Rey flying it more than we see Han flying it, you know?
I mean, he does the, the light speed skip of the planetary shield, which is crazy. And
that was a nice move.
Yeah, not
we don't get that much for Han Solo being like a pilot and them talking about how good of a pilot he is, you know, or how good of a ship it is too. So I like getting a chance to kind of see young Han having those moments. But more than that, I really liked his first time into space / into hyperspace.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Where like he talks about like what it's like and him seeing and like it was like an awe filled moment. I'm trying to think, not awful, but like it was just. There was so much awe in him, and I really like that.
It's like a moment of destiny. It's like when you finally realize, oh, this is what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that part of it, too, just from
Agreed.
Just as like a Han Solo fan kind of thing.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I just love underworld stories and stuff like that. I like hearing about the various syndicates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool in the very beginning when they mentioned the Droid Gotra, one of the other groups that was going for the auction. Because, one of the main cruxes here is they're trying to get this data cube.
Sure, yeah. Lady Proxima sends Han and Kira both to these different meetings.
Yeah.
One is to make a bid on an item, which is a data cube, and the other is to receive the item of the data cube, right? And things go awry.
But the Droid Gotra, it's always significant to me because they were initially developed for the 1313 game, which never came out. And then we did have them very, very, very briefly in the Tarkin book as well. So it was fun to see them pop up here. The Tarkin book, they talk about how they got started by like decommissioned battle droids from the Separatists, like created this group that like they start as kind of like muscle for the Crymora Syndicate, and then they eventually like kind of spread out and leave Coruscant. And
Sounds
stuff,
like something L3 would like.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like the rise of like this own independent droid faction.
Yeah. Which is I think a pretty compelling Star Wars story that very rarely comes up ever. Like droid rights and like how should they be treated.
Yeah.
Even though like I have a visceral reaction when something happens to R2.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah, and we laugh at B1s,
It's real funny.
Why? Yeah, it's great.
It's because they're so evil, but they were programmed that way, Aaron.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So man, I like those parts. I just like, not the Caldana Syndicate, human supremacists. I was so mad that they got the shot in on our Rodian friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
That really pissed me off, Aaron.
I know. And he went through so much. Zulo?
Sulo. Yeah.
Sulo. Like, I
had to look up the spelling. Tsuulo. Because, again, we do audiobook here at Badonkagonk.
Yeah. Well, and we got a lot of time with him, too. Like, he showed up during... One of the things I was going to say I liked was that when meeting Palo, it was like a moment of like, I guess Palo's never had anyone show up before.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of on his own. He's
Palo
old man
was a,
Palo and kind of
Lasat,
scary.
right?
Was he a Lasat?
He's a Lasat. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure what to picture him as,
Yeah.
but Lasat kind
I'm
of
pretty
makes
sure
sense then.
they said he was a Lasat.
Okay.
Older.
But he went in there and, was like, hey, I'm Han, oh, you're Palo. Yeah, okay, hey, we're friends now. I'll see you later. He's like, and there's a part in the book where he was like, then he grimaced at me. Wait, not grimace. Smile? He's like, see you soon, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, he doesn't have anyone else. Han came to the point that later on, he's there again and he's letting them hide there. But then when they want to leave, he's like, I've never had a friend before. No, you can't leave. And he was like freaking out about it a bit. So like it does feed into the idea of friends and his instincts, but also he doesn't always think ahead of what one solution may do consequence-wise either.
Gotcha.
Right? Because like he was there with Palo, but then Palo was like trying to stop them too. So, and I like that they kind of talk about that through the book a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they kind of make it sound like, man, that was what if it would have went another way, or what if things wouldn't have worked out? And they talk about his luck just being high, I guess. He just put a lot of points in the luck,
Yeah. No, I mean, especially with, when I think of Han and I think of like the Obi-Wan scene, like when my experience, no such thing as luck. Like Han has a lot of experience to show like that might not be the case. I think there might be. Or you can just say it's the will of the Force, which is what Obi-Wan's really trying to say. But I mean, if Han Solo is an instrument of the Force, then yeah, he shows it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he has like Jar Jar moments sometimes.
He does. Yeah. He does.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nexus. Maybe the Lasat thing was a future spoiler. Okay. I was looking up characters' names to write down their spelling, so maybe that's where I got it. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Apologies.
I don't know what a future spoiler for it though means.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, the general story though I liked the reason why they were together. I liked them both having to share their secrets. Like Han was like hiding because it starts off with him being late getting back.
Yeah.
And he's been working on a speeder that he's been hiding away. Meanwhile, Kira has been like building her own hideout in an old spaceship, like buried underground kind of thing. And like they both have to share their secrets so that they can survive all the stuff going on. And I like them having to rely on each other. And it really built up why those two were working together so much during like the beginning of Solo.
Yeah.
And why, if you take this book and then go into Solo and you have that, and like this is one person that he cared for and like he wanted to come back for. Like even whenever Kira is thinking at different points, being like, oh no, they left me. Like there's a few parts wherever she's like, well, of course they would leave me. Why would they come back for me here? And Han always came back or was always still there or whatever. And Kira like almost couldn't believe that someone would be risking their life or sticking around to help someone that wasn't themselves.
It doesn't make sense to her, yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that, and it made more sense because like in the Solo movie, like his whole thing over those 3 years is still, I want to get out of this army. I want to get enough money to get a ship, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to save that girl.
Yeah.
Like that's his whole.
And I mean, it's also the thing that like as he grows up and becomes more jaded, he loses and then finds again when he comes back to help Luke.
Yeah.
Like he returns back to his initial, again, his instinct.
Sure. Well, he finds someone that he thinks he can trust, I think, too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
And it's also against the Empire, which is, they're pretty shitty. And he's seen that firsthand. You take the where were they? Were they on Mudbin?
Minban, yeah.
Minban? Mud Troopers on Minban. The element there where like he talks about like, well, why are we here? Aren't we invading?
Are we the invaders?
Like all that kind of stuff. Like he doesn't agree with what the Empire is doing, and he's seen some of the tyranny and stuff that they've done. Especially I'm assuming over the next like, I don't know, 8 years or whatever time frame it is from the end of Solo to getting into A New Hope too.
I think that the only real, I won't use the word speed bump, but the only thing that you miss going from this book right into Solo is that at the end of this book, Kira and Han kind of have this idea that like they might be into each other, like, but it hasn't happened. But in Solo, they're already lovers, like they already have had that relationship. So that's really the only thing I feel like I'm missing as a connective tissue between those two.
Well, that's why I said too. Like I don't know how much time is really in between these two things.
It'd
Like,
be
I don't
less
think
than a year, but
I don't think like the next day he gets coaxium and they try to escape or anything either. And I don't remember what all they said as far as like being like lovers, or if it was just like he really cared for her, but that hadn't quite reached all that point yet. I don't know. I need to pay more attention at the beginning of Solo and see where we're
I
at.
think they used the word lover at one point, but I might be wrong about that.
Maybe. I
But
don't know.
I think it's implied.
Yeah.
At the very least.
I know he's like, I'm going back for a girl. And like,
Yeah.
Dang, what's her name? Maze. Beckett's girl in Solo. She Maze or whatever in Westworld. I can't remember what her name is in Solo.
Val.
Val.
Yeah.
Like Val's like he's in love. Like she calls it out.
Okay, gotcha.
But I don't know
Yeah.
if he specifies he is, but she points out that that's what it is and that's what he's after.
Yeah.
And like
Absolutely.
there's always that point too where like you could be, I could be like, oh yeah, my kid is in love, but he might not be either A, willing to admit it, or B, know it yet either.
Realize
too.
what's happening.
Yeah,
sure.
so there could be that kind of element there too.
Yeah, sure. I get you. Yeah.
We also had a little bit of Wookiee in this.
Yeah, we did. Rue.
Which I was curious on, like
Kiru.
We talked about like Han doesn't really know Shriwook, but kind of can catch some stuff.
He knows some phrases.
But then like later on they're like talking, and Kira was talking about how like it seems like he's catching on to more of it as he goes. Because I was wondering like, oh, how well is he gonna know this now? Because in Solo he kind of knows some stuff enough to talk to Chewie and either understand him to get him to break out, like all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was cool to kind of have that seated in here a little bit too, where like, oh, he knows how to talk to a Wookiee a little bit.
Yeah.
He also talked to a Rodian,
he did.
which Kira didn't really know that, but it made me think about why in Star Wars do we get subtitles for some but not for others? Like, why does Greedo get subtitles but Chewbacca doesn't? And there's so much more time with Chewbacca, So I was just like, I thought about that, and I was like, I like the idea of like when you talk to R2, when you talk to Chewie, like you don't fully know what they say, like you get the you're cold, like those kind of moments.
Get the inference, and you can feel it in the sound design. There's like a magic there, but then sometimes like, well, I need to know what they're saying, But it's like, also one of those things where it's like, look, it's made for kids. Kids don't want to do a lot of reading.
They don't want to do a lot of reading.
Movies,
The same with like Jabba. Sometimes I think you get subtitles for Jabba, and other times you don't get subtitles for Jabba. You get 3PO interpreting and stuff. Yeah. So I just thought about that at one point where I'm like, I don't know why it popped in my head.
Yeah.
But it was when they were talking to the Rodian, to Sulo.
Yeah. Sure.
And I was like, huh.
With the Huttese.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it in the thing and now it's okay. Yeah. Will Shaw on the YouTube chat. One of my notes that I really liked. There was a point when I think it was Kira telling Han to walk casual, which I thought was funny. It made me think of, I don't know, fly casual. Yeah, that was one of my notes. I loved that. He probably remembered that casual. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I did like the smooth talking of Han in this. Like there's a few times when you get that, and it almost seems like Kira can't explain how it happens. Like, it's good job.
I know. Well, because he just rolls charisma and everything. Like, because sometimes like the smooth talking, it's not that smooth, but coming from him, it is. I
suppose, yeah.
We'll talk about that more in one of my favorite Han Solo moments.
Okay.
On that list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a little bit to say about that.
Okay.
It's you watch. It's like when you watch politics. Like sometimes, like it's not about what you say; it's how you say it, and that's what people care about.
Yeah. The confidence, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
If you have the confidence, and I think that's mentioned in here too, where it's like, dang it, what was it? There's another word that Han used in confidence or brash or something like that. But
I mean, confident. It is the most important skill to develop in anything. Is just confidence.
Yeah. Just acted like you belong here.
Yeah,
like when he told that one guy at the there's a counter thing that they're trying to break into to save Rue.
Yeah,
and he's talking to him about like, oh, we're here for this. Mm-hmm. Hey, where's the prisoners at? And he's like, oh, that's why do you need to know that? It's like that's above your pay grade.
Yeah,
he just said it. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
And he just took it.
Absolutely.
And it was it's that confidence thing and what he had said before then too. Yeah. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, definitely. And something like you said, something Kira notices.
Yeah.
And we can see her like put it into play, like in the Solo movie when she comes out, like, I am the Vice Admiral of the Federation Director, like you can just make up titles in Star Wars and people are like, I don't know, galaxy's so big, that might be real.
Who knows what that is? I don't know. Yeah, but she does do that in Solo and that we see here that she doesn't have that confidence here, so she builds it up over time. But we also had in here implemented a little bit of her fighting prowess, I suppose.
Terrace costume. No, I'm kidding.
Like, well, I mean, they didn't bring that up, but like,
well, she wouldn't.
She had like a natural I don't know, ability or something like that within her fighting. That
does.
like it was like the way she punched someone like hit him real hard and like.
I mean, I think that's why she becomes such a fluent Terrace Kasi user, which is it's a made up martial art.
Fake martial art
Yeah.
from a video game and doesn't. It's not canon.
Yes. Well, it was originally from Shadows of the Empire. We'll talk about that later. Actually, no. I'll just get that off the other thing. Yeah, it was developed for Shadows of the Empire, and then it shows up in the video game Masters of Terrace Kasi. Amazing game. Everyone.
Wait, so
loves
who
it.
uses it in Shadow of the Empire?
It's
Prince
translated
Xizor or
as
something?
Steel Hand, and there's a lady in there that literally has a mechanical hand, and that she uses it. So Terrace Kasi means Steel Hand.
Okay.
And then in Shadow of the Empire, I think that Xizor's android uses it. I don't know. Nexus probably. I know Nexus doesn't know a whole lot of Legends or whatever, but something like that. And then obviously it comes up every once in a while, but one of the big ones is Darth Maul is a practitioner of Terrace Kasi. He then teaches it to Dryden Voss. Dryden Voss then teaches it to Kira.
Sure,
So
yeah.
she's one of the very, very few that knows that very exclusive martial art.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Terrace Kasi is absolutely canon. It's been used fairly recently. Well, it was used in Solo.
Yeah.
Like it is a real canon thing. I was just like, it's a fake thing. It's not a real thing. It's coming from a video game. No,
It's one of the best. If you have no idea why that game is such a meme, it's because like it has like it's like a 3D fighting game that you can change the perspective. Terrible graphics, but you can be Luke, and you can be Han, and you can be Leia.
Can you be Darth Vader?
You can be Darth Vader, and then you can be like a Gamorrean guard, and us like a Tusken, And it's just so awesome to watch a Gamorrean guard with a giant axe fighting Vader with a lightsaber, and you beat him.
He won.
Yeah.
Just like it should be.
It's a little ridiculous, but it's also fun to watch Han Solo like punch Vader in the face.
Han Solo fighting, that's weird. Does he get his blaster
He gets
and
his
then like
blaster.
he fights melee?
He has a range attack, but
Okay.
he has some stuff, but he succeeds more away from you.
It's weird to make a ranged fighter in what would be a melee
Aaron,
game.
it's a very special game. I won't use the word weird. It's special.
It's weird. It's weird to have that.
But yeah, Kira's aptitude for fighting is in there, definitely. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And her aptitude for planning and like I don't know, kind of figuring out solutions and things too. Like she does a lot of that with Solo movie, like
You can see that after her and Han get separated on Corellia, you can see why she rises in 3 years. She's like Dryden Voss's lieutenant.
mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and here
She goes from his slave to his like most trusted lieutenant in 3 years. You can see that in this book.
Well, and you see someone who like there's whatever they made was like blueprints for something for the Empire, right? Kira and them get it to what's the engineer, and they had a name. I forget what the engineer's name was, something Jin or J something, but
Yeah, the Imperial engineer. I just remember the engineer.
They get it to her, and they want to like recruit Kira, right? Like there's recognition being made where it's like you seem like you understand what what's going on or how to like operate. Like I'd like to bring you in, and I thought of Dryden with that. Like I thought about her rise, and I'm like, well, that makes sense because like they recognize like how good she can be and what all she can do. But
And she has a loyal streak to her. Like she wants to rise up in Proxima's White Worms. So they go back.
yeah, there's a loyalty there.
Yeah.
But so much so that she also like can't abandon her friends. Like I think if they would have taken Solo, and Sulo, Solo and Han.
It's like Tsunade.
I need to call him Han
Sulo.
because in this book he doesn't have Solo yet, so they
Yeah.
just call him Han.
Yeah.
But because of Sulo, it seems so close to Solo
Yeah, I
that
get
it
you.
seems wrong.
I understand.
It doesn't seem like the right answer.
Yeah.
But like she doesn't want to leave them behind. So she turns that down. And part of me I was wondering like, man, if she would have taken that, what differences would we have seen? What could have happened? Of course, I think the same thing whenever I watch like Anakin. I'm like, no, Anakin, say no this time. Don't cut off Mace's arm, please. Like.
Dude, one of these days you're gonna be, I don't know, tripping or something. It's gonna happen.
What? I'm gonna
Like-
cut off my arm?
No, like fucking Anakin's not gonna turn.
Oh, just one day?
You're just gonna go nuts.
Oh my gosh. I tripped. I hit my head. I'm in a whole new Star Wars universe now.
That'd be an amazing prank to switch your copy of Star Wars and I make a whole fake ending.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. What happened?
You're just questioning everything.
But her maybe could have taken that job. I thought was interesting, and also that she turned it down. And like it shows like a little bit of growth of trusting others. Sadly, Sulo dies shortly after, which was a big thing. And I didn't like that. It made me sad.
No, I didn't like it.
It hit Han too. There's a loss of
Syndicate.
Yeah. No, they suck. I mean, they were betraying people before already anyway, you know?
But I just hate that our Rhodian friend is killed by the guys that we especially hate Rhodians.
Yeah.
You fucks.
I also, I didn't get enough time, but I think I would have liked Tool.
Yeah, sure.
But we didn't get a lot of time with him or anything.
Yeah.
But him being like, get ready, Han. Like, ready? You know, like that moment there, like, go! And he's like fighting and stuff. Like, oh, man.
Yeah.
But Tool seemed like a pretty cool character. He's in it some, but not a ton.
Sure.
But Sulo, I started to like a lot, and the way he operated, and the way he worked so well with this group too. With, I like that little trio did a lot.
Yeah,
did a really good job.
No, Sulo was cool. He was from Coruscant. He had a brother named Rizzo, who that's where they get the speeder from, right?
Yeah, he
was a speed racer.
Their story was a little tragic too.
Yeah, it is.
And the separation of the brothers because they disagreed on like how to go with it, right?
Yeah. So
like,
they get pretty much stranded. Their parents die. They have a little bit of money.
The parents dying was terrible because it was like some guy was mad because he lost his job or something, so he was going to drive his speeder into like the employment office or something, and they just happened to be in the way when he was doing it. And I'm like, dang, man, it wasn't even like they were being targeted. It was just some accident that also hit. Well, it wasn't an accident that they were attacking the one place, but they happened to be there.
Just wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, it changes people's lives.
Yeah.
Those kinds of decisions.
And then they get like an insurance money or something like that from it all. And they disagree on how to spend it. Yeah. One wanted to go to school, I think, which was Sulo.
Yeah.
And
the other one wanted to street race.
Yeah. So he put all his money into a street racer and he keeps losing, and apparently it's ugly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they lose that speeder though, right? Like it didn't it. I think it got destroyed or something. If I recall, it blew up or whatever.
Yep. And then they get another speeder at the end when they end up giving it to Rue? Who did they give it to?
Did they give it to Rue?
I can't remember who they gave it to. They gave it to somebody that lost their speeder.
The only one I can think of that lost a speeder would have been the brother. I don't remember if Rue.
Right now.
I don't remember if Rue had one.
Okay.
But I don't remember that part.
They gave it to Rizzo.
Okay. Yeah, because he's the one that they took the speeder from.
They stole. Yeah, the brother, not Rue.
Yeah. Rue was the Wookiee.
I had R's in my head, in my bed.
But no, I mean overall, like it was a fairly quick. Like it wasn't a long book.
No, not at all.
But I think it did a lot in what happened, and I had fun like picturing this on Corellia and trying to go through and get like the story of Solo.
Yeah.
This book gelled with me, I think, a lot better than some other books that we've read have. So that was good.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of Han stories, you know? Like you said, like most stories and stuff, when thinking about Star Wars, I think of like Jedi, I think of Luke, I think of the Skywalkers, I think of, more things like that. Even like when we get into like the bad guys, like there's still like Tarkin and some of them too that we get stories for, but like I don't always think of Han Solo first, you know?
I get you. Yeah.
So it was cool to have this, and I think I would have liked to have, I don't know, I when did this come out close to Solo or before Solo?
I think you said earlier that it came out the same day.
The same day that like Solo released? Because this could have been interesting of like having this the first time watching Solo. But for me, I think it would have been, I think it's better for me to watch Solo and then read this, because then I have more of those characters in my head when I'm going through the book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he did say release the same day as Solo. Yeah, I think I agree. And I don't always agree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, well, movies should be judged on their own and that type of thing. But I mean,
with Star Wars, there's so much interactivity, interconnections and stuff where, like,
I agree.
It's always hard for me to be like,
you're not watching it in a vacuum.
Yeah, like I can't remember ever watching Star Wars in a vacuum, because even whenever I watched the first Star Wars movie, I knew there were 3 of them. You know,
it definitely enhances things for me, but I'm never like, well, you're wrong when someone's like, wait, what was this? And it's like, oh, yeah, well, actually, this is what's happening. It's like, oh, when did you learn that? It's like, in an expanded universe book. And oh, okay.
Sure.
Which that was in the movie, you know.
Yeah.
That's much better. But it is the strength of mythology that you can bring the whole thing up by tugging on this over here. But I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this book wouldn't exist without the other Star Wars media.
The only thing that sucks, and this isn't about the book, there was something I had in my head where I'm like, oh man, this makes me think of something from like where we go from here to like what we have with like Ben Solo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was when I was cleaning and stuff, so I wasn't writing stuff down. And I'm like, oh man, what made me think about that? And I went back through trying to find it at one point, and I couldn't find where that was or what made me think about that. So I want to go through again to try to find that because it's been bothering me. But there was something where I was like, oh man, I like what he says here and what that means for the growth of this character to where he gets to here. And I can't remember what that was, and it really bothers me. So that's the only thing I had where I was like, I wish I could have found this because I would have liked to have talked about it. Because like in my head, sometimes when I'm listening to stuff, I'm like, oh, this would be cool to talk about. I like
what
this.
you mean.
That's why I try to write down as I'm listening,
think of what it was,
but I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was friend related. I don't know if it was like, something related to like him and how he cared about people or how he didn't care about people or whatever it was.
Okay.
It might have been when he was talking to Tool.
Maybe.
I don't know. But something about like in that moment with Ben, like in his final moments with Ben, like he does that for Ben. He doesn't do it for him, It's not a favor or anything too. It's
I know what
at
I have
most,
to do, but I don't have the strength to do it.
At most, it's a favor to Leia of why he's going to Ben, at most. But I never felt like that's what it was. So I don't remember what it was. Maybe I'll remember. If I remember by
that
next
moment,
Badonkagonk,
I think of unconditional love. Like Han will do anything for that kid.
Yeah.
In that moment. Ugh. I want to get to our list eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, good book. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. It was an easy read, and if you're listening to the audiobook, you can get it done in like 8 hours. So
Yeah.
I found a new way of listening to audiobooks, which is hunt Koroks and Breath of the Wild.
Oh, really?
I've been doing a casual run at home where I'm trying to win 100% the game, and it's a lot more casual and easy with the new Nintendo Switch app that has Zelda notes on it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of just turn the book on. I turn on my Switch and just hunt for Koroks for a while. They're really kind of like easy puzzles, that you don't have to think about too much. You have to just kind of find them. So
yeah, I keep trying to find something to like occupy my like visual, like tactile aspect while I'm listening to things. But then sometimes I get too I don't know. Is thoughty the word? I get too much in my head thinking about whatever it is I'm messing with as opposed to listening. So I'm trying to find something to like appease my eyes while I'm just like it's like this is mindless while I can hear my book.
Reading off the page, you're utilizing your visual cortex, right? But when you're just listening, you do kind of feel like I could be doing something, but it's why mowing, I think, is a thing that I do because you don't have to think about it too much. Mm-hmm. I do the same pattern every 2 weeks, So I can get lost in any type of like manual labor that's not too.
I think that's
creative.
Why I like cleaning and I was doing the dishes and stuff, and it was nice to just.
It's really good stuff for chores.
Yeah,
and in fact, I'll sometimes use it to like. Oh, I'm gonna go do my laundry, and I get excited on it versus like I'm gonna do my laundry, that type of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was any questions or thoughts or anything on the book that we have that anyone has asked. I saw a few things on YouTube as we were going through some stuff here. You said about the walk casual and stuff too. Will Shaw had said before about. Never mind, Gonk took it away. There it is. What do you guys think about the theory that Han is very lightly force sensitive, i.e. shooting behind his back and flying? Because there were parts of this book that almost seem to imply it, but I'm not sure if that's there or that's me bringing baggage of the idea with me.
I get what you mean. I mean, it's the thing when trying to quantify the force, I think, can be very difficult. But I also... I never want to rob a character's agency and talent by appealing to the Force. I feel like Han is just that good. He's good. I don't need to point to the Force to say that's why he's good.
Sure.
Like Anakin. I think Anakin is, he's a gifted pilot because he can see things before this happen. You can say that's because of his Force ability. But I don't think that's necessarily true for his skill of putting things together. I think that he just learned how to do that, and I want to give him full credit for it.
Sure.
So I kind of do the same thing with Han. Like, I know that anybody can technically use the Force. It's a matter of discipline and training and thought and that type of thing, as we kind of have started to develop in the Ahsoka series. But I prefer to think of it as like Han is that good despite not having the Force, not because.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of said in the beginning, like, you imagine if he was a Jedi, he'd be like the most in-the-moment Jedi that ever lived.
Yeah, he would be.
Which is Yep.
No. Yeah, I don't know if I didn't pick up anything in this where it was like a force sensitive kind of thing in the book when I was going through it, but
Yeah.
I do get the idea of like, oh, a very good pilot might have force sensitivity, but they don't know it. That's why Anakin was like a really good human pod racer.
Sure.
You know, because he had that force sensitivity where usually it's the alien reflexes are what allows you to do it.
But I don't think it's a bad thought. I think it's very similar to like where the origins of the Darth Jar Jar theory came from. It's like, how is that incompetent person pulling off these very intricate things, you know? And then you can say that, how does this cocky, brash guy pull off all these, you know, confident types of things? Like, I think it's just, I think he is the person that Obi-Wan might have to scratch his head and be like, maybe I do kind of believe in luck.
Nexus says, and I don't know if I understand exactly what it means, but how do we feel about Han reflecting at the end about joining causes just leading to war?
It's like joining a cause, like joining the rebellion, like joining a group of people trying to make a difference. Well, that just leads to conflict and war. You know, it's better to
take care of yourself, kind of thing.
Go solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because again, I mean, that's something that he kind of like has to refine in his life.
Yeah.
As he gets more hardened by how the galaxy actually is.
I think also like you could have that where like that's in his mindset now, but you know, he goes, I mean, he doesn't really go solo because he ends up meeting up with like Chewie, and him and Chewie are together for a while, you know, up until he meets someone else. And it's like, it's finding someone where it's like, this is meaningful to them and I care about them, right? Like he could have just left and been like, the rebellion's taken care of, that's not my problem, the Empire's gonna wipe them out. But he also like found other people that I think he either cared about or cared about enough to listen to what their opinions are and change his mind, right? So he has one mindset here from what he's lived through and being like, well, that's just, you're just gonna have more war, more conflict, there's no reason to join any causes. But he needs to find something that he believes in or changes his perspective, and he eventually gets there through in A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I think
it's a really interesting point, Aaron. Like I think about that. Like, well, generally, I think your intention is to go out and fight for the causes you believe in. But what actually happens is you find the right people, and they lead you to a cause.
Yeah,
that's
I think it's what he does
actually happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So he finds it through them. Yeah. But you got to find the people that either have meaning to you or that you, I don't know, like they bond in some ways during that, and he either trusts Luke or trusts Leia or both enough to come back and be like, this is what the right thing to do is, and this is what I need to do. And I think lots of times he wants to treat people like in this, he wants to treat people like people, and the Empire is not treating them like people. And he was against that before. Like there's little threads throughout Solo or maybe this book or whatever where like the people doing the wrong things aren't the people I want to side with anyway. Yeah. And at some point, like, well, maybe this is where I need to be. And I think that's what happens there.
I think so. All right, guys, that was our review of Star Wars Most Wanted by Ray Carson. We're going to give some homework for next time, or do we want to do that at the end?
We can mention the book now because we still have some more Solo stuff to get into, though. So
next book is by an author named Kevin Hearn, and it is Heir to the Jedi, which takes place in Zero ABY.
So the movie.
So right after A New Hope.
Okay.
Pretty much is what's going to be happening.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing that around August 21st or so. So make sure you guys are reading the next book, Heir to the Jedi. And we'll be talking about next time. But we're not done talking about Han Solo, specifically the movie Solo, A Star Wars Story. Aaron, are you cool about getting into maybe some details you didn't know about Solo, A Star Wars Story?
Like when I was watching through it, like after finishing the book and stuff, I was like, you know what? I really like this movie. And it's also been one of the newer movies that I've just kind of tossed on sometimes. And I get like 30 minutes in before I fall asleep whenever I'm going to bed and stuff. But like Melanie's like, here, and she'll just pass me the remote and be like, and she's rolling over to go to bed, so she doesn't care. She's like, if you want to watch something, put something on. I'm like, I don't know what to watch. I was like, I'll put on Solo. So like the jump starting of like I think of that in the morning because that's what or at night because I'm going to bed, and it starts up with that. You know,
it's one of my favorite openings to a movie. Like I love that to like bring you a visual thing. It's just
from black. It's not fading
black,
out of
yeah.
black. It's black. Why is
Yeah.
it black? Boom, boom. Oh,
No, I love that. The more and more I watch it, because I think my enjoyment of it was slightly dulled because I think the trailer kind of did that as well.
it had that in
So
there.
I kind of was expecting it in the movie, and with it being the first thing you see in the movie, it doesn't hit me as hard because, again, I had seen it in the trailer. But now
Sure.
when I watch it, I'm like, man, what a clever way to start.
Trailers, man.
So yeah, with my list here, a lot of this stuff is kind of more behind the scenes and kind of arbitrary to the movie. Because again, like the way I was doing it is like if I found a piece of trivia or fact that I didn't hear before, it's going on the list. So hopefully this will
Sure.
be new for a lot of people.
And, like, there's
but
been
this
some-
isn't like, obviously there's stuff in there like, oh, there's a Mandalorian armor in the back. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that.
And we've talked about some stuff before,
We have.
like the craniums. What it
decraniated.
decraniated. Like we
Yeah.
talked about that because of it being related to the one guy from Rogue One and A New Hope.
Yeah, Dr. Cornelius
yeah.
Edison.
And
he
like
has the decraniated. We talked about it in our high and dry of Rogue One recently, and then we also mentioned that there is a server on Dryden Voss's yacht.
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
though I think it was just Rogue One. I don't think it was a high and dry.
That's right. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just
we
Rogue
had a
One.
high and dry of Episode 1. though.
Of the Phantom Menace. You're right. We did a Rogue One watch after Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I'm just gonna go down through my list here. This was a really fun one. We talked about how Alden Ehrenreich had the huge task privilege. I don't know what you want to do, but this is the first thing I had ever seen him in. I think he nailed Han, and every time I watch it, I believe that even more. But I love this fact: Alden Ehrenreich bought and brought his own copy of the Millennium Falcon Owner's Workshop Manual to the set to talk about button sequences for the takeoff scene of the Falcon. So it's a guidebook. There's a lot of Star Wars guidebooks out there. He bought
There's a manual for the Falcon?
the Millennium Falcon Owner's Manual.
Like what you find in the glove box? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So that he can get his buttons right. I just thought, like, that's so damn cool. Like, I know Harrison Ford, like, he would talk about that when they were doing the first movie. Like, well, where's the accelerator? Like,
Yeah, how does this thing work?
Like, what am I actually pushing? He would kind of just make things up / try to, like, come up with something. And then people would study that and try to come up with a source book. And then you had that big, giant circle of Alden being like, I'm literally picking this up. The work's been done. I'm going to study that. I just thought it was a really cool thing to think of.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, it's got to be hard to be like, it's got to be kind of similar to Scarlet Witch trying to figure out when I'm casting a spell, what am I doing with my fingers kind of thing, right? But here's like, all right, here's your little button playground.
Yeah.
Fly the ship. You're
Exactly.
like, well, what's that mean? It's like, well, say these words. Here's your words in the script. And now do something.
Yeah. Do
You're
something.
like,
Make
all
it
right, well, here's,
believable.
is this for the light speed? Is this
Yeah.
the accelerator? What's,
And then,
you know,
I
what
mean,
does this stuff
you
do?
also think about, like, when you drive, like, how often do you, like, look down at your buttons? I don't do that much. I know where this is and this is and this and this, So not only do you have to, like, all these other things, you kind of have to do it in a way that's, like done this
you
a
know
thousand-
what you've been
done it a
doing
thousand
because,
times.
yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense too. And yeah, I've never felt like Han was like flying like look at, you know what I mean?
Right.
I never felt like that.
Yeah.
But if he did it in Solo, I need to watch Solo again and think about that too, because like in theory, he didn't really fly the Falcon, so he would probably be kind of looking around like this one.
Yeah. A lot of people try to. This happened. I think this happened with Jake not too long ago. They'll say, "Hey, that's the only movie that doesn't have a lightsaber in it." And they look, technically, it does. It's a hollow lightsaber, but there is a lightsaber in the movie. But to strengthen that argument, or to modify a little bit, this is, of the 12 movies, the only movie that you don't hear the word Jedi. And we are counting Clone Wars movie as one of the 12 movies to get to that number. But this is the only Star Wars movie that does not have the word Jedi in it. I just like, that's a fun fact. I did not know that.
They say it in Rogue One, huh?
Yeah.
I can't place where it is, but I'm sure they do.
They do. I think they say
Well,
it in
Cheer at Imwe and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be said around there.
Yeah, they talk
and-
about
and they go to Jeddah.
they talk about,
So like
the Kyber
it
crystals.
makes sense
and all
that they're gonna
stuff.
have it there.
Yeah.
Are you counting the Ewok movies?
No.
Caravan of Courage?
I'm not. No, I'm not. Oh, man. What else do I have
Next
here?
it said Sula would have said it. He would have said Jedi.
Alden Ehrenreich was the first actor to audition for the directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. There was the directors before.
For Solo?
They ended up leaving. And actually, there's another thing here that Ron Howard came on board to direct. There was a question about who would receive the directing credit because Director Guild rules state that a person who shot 90% of the film would get directing credit. Ron Howard reshot 80% of Phil and Lord's Christopher Miller footage. As a compromise, Lord and Miller got executive producer credit, and Howard got the director credit.
Huh.
So it's interesting that the guild rules are kind of like stating like, well, you can't technically do that type of thing. But yeah, so Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, they're the ones that were making the casting decisions and all that stuff before they got let go. But they saw Alden Ehrenreich first. The director said in July 2016 that while they liked a lot of the other actors that they got to read, and they had like Rami Malek went in there, like a bunch of actors that you know about, they would say every time, they're not as good as the first guy we saw. So that like he got stuck in their head as like the standard that you have to beat, and no one beat him.
Sure.
I love that.
I get that. Like you have your first one, it's like, all right, then you get your second one. It's like going to the eye doctor.
Yep.
Right? Is 1 or 2? It's like, 1. Like, all right, 1 or 3. It's like, well, 1.
I mean, Jancy and I have our dog Obi, and we love him to death. But when we went to go like look at puppies, I said like, let's not get the first one we see. We got the first one we saw, and it was destiny. Okay, let's move on to this one, like I did know this one, but I think it's still a fun connection to the Phantom Menace. I think it's cool that you can connect not just with Darth Maul.
I say Darth Maul, yeah.
You can connect this with Voss offers his guest Calo Clawfish. The Calo Clawfish live on the planet core of Naboo and previously appeared in the Phantom Menace. It was fended off by an even larger Sando Aqua
Was it
monster. It's the big, long eel.
Oh, is it the eel thing?
I think so.
Okay.
It's the Calo Claw fish.
Not the, like, kind of fatter
No, I don't
little
think so.
one?
Yeah.
The first one that, like, damages the ship?
Yeah. But what he is currently eating is a monster that we see in the planet core. Let me just look real quick.
While you do that, I'm going to ask Gonk to
it's the eel thing.
Move YouTube chat down a little to make sure, because it doesn't look like it's a scrolling. Thank you. And then it's the eel one, you said?
Yeah, it is the eel one. So there's a cool little detail in there that a lot of people miss because they never named that thing in the movie.
Yeah, there's tons of those things that aren't being named in movies where it's like, oh, that's what this was here. The New Gen Nerd had a super chat.
Yeah.
He said, Solo is so underrated. I love that Tag and Bink were somehow made canon through the film. I never would have expected them to be brought into official material from their old comic series.
Yeah.
What's Tag and Bink?
So Tag and Bink are these two, like, I don't want to use the word like gag characters, but joke characters that appeared in especially old, not even old legends. They were just kind of like a comedy duo. At least that's what I remember. But in the official Solo guide, there are two Imperials that are labeled Imperial Officers Tag Greenlee and Bink Stana, or Otana. So Tag and Bink are canonized in the Solo official guide.
Gotcha, okay.
They're in the background scene when Han enlists.
Okay. There's it makes me think of in a lot of, I don't know if it's every Final Fantasy, but in a lot of Final Fantasy games, there is a Wedge and a Biggs, I believe. And they're just two characters that are common in a lot of the Final Fantasy games. But they are named Wedge and Biggs after Wedge and Biggs from Star Wars. But I don't know why that makes me think of that. Maybe just because of having the two names.
Tag and Bink are the main characters in a Star Wars spoof series of comic books that parody the films. They are a pair of minor characters whose activities deliberately or accidentally influence the events of the first and second film trilogies in ways that explain some of the implausible events of the series.
Wait, what?
I mean, I don't know them super well. I just know people have always brought them up as like, oh man, I wish you could do something with Tag and Bink. Kind of like Jackson the Rabbit in the old Marvel comics.
I remember seeing him before, yeah.
But no, I didn't know about the kind of canonization of those characters. That's awesome. Okay, I got another one here. During an interview on the Graham Norton show, Phoebe Waller-Bridge said that prior to her casting, she had never seen a Star Wars movie and didn't know what a droid was.
I say Phoebe is who voiced L3?
Yes.
or played.
She played
Like,
L3.
was the
It's actually really interesting. It's one of the first times that it was like a digital and a kind of like we do with Iron Man, where they have like Tony just wear like the chest piece and they do everything else. She would wear the helmet and like some of the droid parts, and then she had a green screen under that where they would do like the servos and the wires.
kind of like what they did with Alan a little bit, but not so much because he was much more different.
He was more. I think he was completely CGI.
Well, I guess kind of like what I'm thinking with them is like
Yeah.
Jar Jar and Alan both were like there, and they'd wear something on their head to like give the,
She
the
is
eye
on
stuff and stuff.
camera,
But this
yeah.
one is not like C-3PO,
Yeah.
but not like Alan. It's kind of like a
Exactly.
mixture of the two.
It's like a
little
mixture
bit.
of the two. Like the parts that she's wearing like are the shot on camera parts that you see in the movie. It's why she's like from a technical standpoint, she's a very successful CG character because there's not a whole lot of CG in there. But when she was cast, she had never seen Star Wars and had no idea what a droid was. So when she saw the word droid, she just was like, I don't know what that is. I'll just ignore it. She decided to play L337 as a human in her audition. When one of the directors asked her if she could do it more droidy while making mechanical hand gestures, she deduced in that moment that droids must be robots. And then although the casting directors asked her to try it again, they ended up liking her original interpretation so much that they just gave her the part and said, actually, don't do it too droidy.
So do this one, make it
Yeah.
more human-like.
So like her, not understanding the term informs the character and makes that character a little bit more developed because it kind of works for L3. L3 is a droid, yes, but she believes that she has sentience, and that means something. She inspires other droids to do it, which means that probably most droids have these feelings. They just aren't allowed to express them,
Yeah. Well, she causes an uprising.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So I didn't know that. I think that's awesome.
I like that. That's cool.
Aaron, did you know that Imphy's Nest helmet has a poem on it?
Poem?
It's written in
Like
stylized
outside, like on the side of it? or
Yeah,
something?
you can read it in stylized Arabic. It translates to "Until we reach the last edge, the last opening, the last star, and can go no higher."
Okay.
I had no idea. I just was kind of looking for like really intricate details, and
I
that's when
wonder
it popped
if
up.
watching the movie, if you can see it at any point.
I
Like
don't
you
know.
probably can't read it,
Yeah.
but if you can just see it.
I think
at
it's
all.
similar to like you can kind of doesn't Darth Vader on his chest have like his like box? He has like German or something on there, and it says like Dark Father.
I think there's some. I feel like
Something
that's
like
something
that.
I've heard before, but I can't remember what the
Kind of
story is
reminds
on
me of that in that regard.
it.
That was cool.
I can also bring up Nexus here. He wants to poop on the parade. And it says Tag and Bink stuff was actually deleted from Solo, so they are not in the canon.
Gotcha. Well, they're in the source book, which the source books are treated like canon, right?
Is that how it is?
I think so. I don't know. I might be wrong about that one.
Okay.
But either way, it's fun that at least fans of that old gag series got like a shout out. You know, I think Solo is really strong when it comes to shouting out to fans and kind of like leaving you behind if you don't know sometimes, especially with
Sure.
the Darth Maul reveal.
Yeah, the Darth Maul reveal for
But
sure.
I mean, it's also brilliant marketing strategy. Whenever you like get to the end of that movie, you're like, "What? How is Darth Maul alive? Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Watch all 7 seasons now."
Oh man, okay.
Oh, damn. Okay. So it's
I always did like to whenever it never bothered me. I think some people didn't like it, but whenever the recruitment center for Han is there and it's like bum 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 ba-da-da, and it's like a little happier marchy kind of thing.
It's the same melody they use in Rebels for the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that movie or that part in the movie because that's like, well, we'll see how long it takes you to get you flying or whatever. And then he goes, it transitions 3 years later. He goes flying from an explosion, and the same melody comes in, and it's telling you like you were lied to. This is what this actually feels like. So I love that musical storytelling of like, join the Empire, save the world. Actually, you're conquering worlds, and all this is evil. You know?
It's all up here, and then
Yeah.
the music shifts to down
Yep.
here.
It's amazing. Amazing musical storytelling. There's my Terrace Kasi thing. It's actually based off of Steve Perry is the guy who wrote Shadows of the Empire, and he's a practitioner of an Indonesian martial art called Pencak Silat. So he bases Terrace Kasi after a real martial art.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
kind of cool.
That makes sense to
Yeah.
do.
Dryden Voss's original concept art portrayed him as a dinosaur bird-like figure, and I think that's after another actor was cast, and they were kind of going for more of like a lion feel. But dinosaur bird-like figure with the development of a like semi-love triangle between him, Han, and Kira, his design became humanoid, majestic, and handsome in order to evoke more jealousy from Han. So that's one of the things of like the script kind of like, well, we don't want him to be like an alien creature because we want to really sell that like this is like competition for Han.
Yeah. This is for Dryden?
This is for Dryden,
Yeah,
so
because I remember like one point like, oh, he's an alien. I'm like, he's an alien.
He's meant to be an alien.
They're like, yeah, look at him, like he has these scars,
Yeah.
and then he like kind of changes a little bit in the
does.
way his skin looks sometimes.
Ron Howard said like his performance would just go like so nuts that he's like, I want to like do something with that. So I think it's kind of clever. Like the idea is that his skin splits and you almost get like Darth Maul's influence like comes out of his face because Maul has the lines on his face with the tattoos. So there's almost kind of like this, I don't know, like poetic under the shell of the proper Dryden is the Maul trained, double bladed knife wielding Terrace Casa user, you know? Kind of interesting. But what else do we got here? The opening scene on Corellia and the opening scene in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, in which Krennic takes Galen Erso, both take place in the same year, 13 BBY.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. So, like, Han as a scrum rat in his age there, and you compare that to Jen's age, because, you know, he's much older than Luke and Leia,
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So, like, it kind of, like, helps me with, like, remembering, like, the timeline. But both of those scenes take place 13 BBY.
Okay.
Thought that was kind of a cool thing.
What's this?
This is the original Dryden Voss.
That's what Dryden was going to look like?
Yeah. That would be tough being like, there's my sexual rival. Man, imagine the dance he must have.
Yeah,
Birds
right?
like to dance, do that
Yeah,
cool
does
stuff.
he have like a big old tail feather thing or something?
Yeah.
Wonder what Terrace Kasi from him looks like.
Right? That's a steel claw.
That could be interesting. I did see that Gonk said something, which was that we might recognize Terrace Kasi or Pancak Stilat, or however it was said.
Yeah.
As it's one of the main martial arts used in The Raid.
Yeah, definitely. An amazing Indonesian film. Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, those guys also make an appearance in The Force Awakens as, what are they, part of Kanji Club?
Yeah,
about Kanji Club?
Yeah, I was trying to think of what they were called, Kanji Club, yeah.
Yeah.
I love pancakes a lot. Shush, I don't know how to say it.
A lot of people, you know, I think we all love Donald Glover as Lando. You said you recently watched it. Now, is this the first time you've watched it since watching Community? And did that change anything for
I don't
you?
know, because I had seen it with the kids, but I can't remember if we were watching Community then or not. But like, it is interesting seeing like who Troy was and what Glover portrayed him as to seeing Lando, who feels very different. I think he acts him out very well. But I love that like you don't even get a chance to see him. Like in the first scene that he shows up in, you just hear like, how was I supposed to know she was an Imperial spy?
yeah,
You know?
I know.
And it's just the way he says it and the flow he has with it is so good that I'm just like, was that Lando? And then we get there and we're like, oh, here's Lando. This is so
It's
cool.
amazing storytelling that you hear Lando before you see him, and thus when you see him and he doesn't look exactly the same, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You've already recognized him. So good.
Yeah. But no, I thought like he was one of my favorite things I think whenever watching it before.
Yeah.
And now like I like Troy a lot. So like I have more experience with Glover. Him being in like Spider-Man here and there too, his little cameo things have been fun. Like I've seen him in a little bit more than what I had then. So I have more of a more love for the actor.
Yeah.
So I appreciate him as Lando a lot more, I think too. But
I bring him up because I love that they choose to have him hear Han's name incorrectly / kind of like mock him. Hey, what's up? I'm Han. Han?
Han?
And then he continues to call him Han, which like it canonizes it and gives reason to why Billy D mispronounces Han's name all the time. That's how he refers to him.
Well, he's probably talking to George.
Yeah, like it's well, yeah, but like it's almost like a pet name that he kind of gives him. Like, you know, he can say it mockingly and he can say it with affection.
Yeah.
You know, I love that that's like used and evoked to like be their first meeting. You know?
Yeah.
This is a really cool thing that they did with that.
I do like that a lot.
You know how Star Wars had like a code name called Blue Harvests?
Yeah.
This obviously had a code name as well, so that they can try to
sneak filming into places without people being like, a Star Wars story.
So this movie is called Solo. The project name was called Red Cup.
Red Cup.
Like the Solo cups you get for parties?
Yeah.
I just think
Solo
that's one of the most...
Cup.
That's just such a clever code name.
Use Red Cup. Red Cup. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
That's... I want to... Yeah. No, I mean... I feel like it's a name I would have done.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we can't just call it Solo, a Star Wars story. People will know what's going on. We should call it something else. What are we going to call it? He's like, Red Cup.
Yep.
A beer pong story.
I'm sure we talked about this detail at one point, but it's always a fun one that especially fans of Rebels enjoy. But when Han and Lando first meet during the Sabacc game, Han claims he owns a VCX 100. In Star Wars Rebels, the Ghost is a VCX 100. So to kind of up his game and say, yeah, I got some good stuff, he evokes one of our favorite ships. I love that idea.
That's cool. I have to always remember that now whenever I watch it.
You have a VCX 100 at home?
I do. I do have one. It's great.
All right, dude, this one is awesome. I had no idea. Okay, so there are 2 figures in the holochess game, the Dejarik game, that were scrapped in the original Star Wars film.
Okay.
They just didn't. They were going to do it. They didn't do it.
They didn't do it at all.
It was all stop motion, a lot of hard stuff. But they ended up making it into the Solo movie. The crew used Joonas Suotamo frustrated performance of Chewie as an explanation for the missing pieces in A New Hope. So Chewie swipes at the game and pops a couple buttons off the table, and they go away.
And then we just
and
can't
then in A
use
New
them
Hope,
in the future?
they're not there, though they were planned to be. So I love that storytelling of he breaks it, and what was meant to be there in 1977, there's a reason it's not there now. Chewie broke it in the future.
We just never fixed that. It wasn't an important
never
aspect.
fixed that. Yeah.
Okay.
I just love that. I don't know. It's almost like accidental storytelling.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. They just made it work for hey, let's use these and we'll make a reason why. So that's pretty cool.
This is the first Star Wars film in which 3PO and R2 do not appear. However, Anthony Daniels does appear in the film as a human slave Tack in the space mines of Kessel. He's like, Mala, this way,
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that during our review, the night of. But what I didn't make the connection is that this makes Daniels the only person to have acting/voice credits in all 12 Star Wars films, because he does appear in the Clone Wars movie. Ironically, one of 3PO's first lines we ever hear in A New Hope references the spice mines of Kessel. I just think it's really interesting. 1977, one of 3PO's first lines is they'll send us to the spice mines of Kessel. And then Anthony Daniels is a slave in the spice mines of Kessel. He was sent there.
I wonder with that, too, I don't know what ends up happening afterwards.
Yeah.
The spice mines of Kessel must still be working.
Mm-hmm.
Are they harsher on droids in the spice mines of Kessel after the attempted uprising that L3 tried to do? It must
Wouldn't
not have
surprise
worked.
me.
Droids must not be in charge there.
I don't think so.
So I wonder if it's a bigger, scary story for droids. Little droids getting tucked in at night. This is the story you tell them to, don't go to the dark. You get into the spice.
You don't want to go to the spice mines of Kessel.
I don't know. I just thought about that just now of man, there was an uprising, but it must not have worked.
Tobias Beckett has one of the hardest lines in the movie when they're getting to the spice mines and they're mining. Lando's mining is one of the worst or something like that, which is ironic considering he's a miner later, but he kind of treats his people good or whatever. But anyway, Tobias Beckett responds with, well, the worst is where the money is. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just, politics and stuff or whatever, but I felt that so hard.
Mm-hmm.
The worst is where the money is.
Yeah.
And I brought out our prop Han blaster here for this one. When Beckett changes the sniper rifle he's using into a blaster and tosses it to Han, it's a direct reference to the creation of the original prop. So the famous DL-44 blaster was created for A New Hope using the Mauser C-96 prop. That's the rifle that they cut up and then ends up being
and
this,
to make
right?
it one of those. So it was a sniper they turned into a pistol.
So it's really interesting, like to make that prop, that's what they did, and then in the movie to make the gun, that's what they did.
They had it like, hey, this is a sniper configuration, but I'm going to switch it, and now here you go.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then also, it's apparently a reference also to a Frank Sinatra movie, because the Mauser C96 that Frank Sinatra wields in The Naked Runner, which is a 1967 movie. In that film, Sinatra's character disassembles his sniper rifle into the base Mauser to store it in his case. So apparently it could be referencing that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What did you think of, and we probably talked about this in a review, but like Han's gun coming from Beckett?
Love it.
Like, I was like, when I was watching it again, I got to that part, and like, oh, it is kind of cool. Like, he doesn't really have a gun. He gets a gun here, and like this ends up being like it's kind of like he has it and he uses it until he doesn't have it anymore. Like you use it until it's gone, and that's what he does.
Beckett is the person that teaches him a very valuable lesson, like trust nobody and you'll never be betrayed. It's something that he carries for quite a long time, and I think it's important that that's Han's weapon throughout the rest of his life. Like Beckett ends up being a betrayer, but that doesn't mean he's not still a mentor. And I like that Han uses Beckett's weapon to protect himself for the rest of his life. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. We were talking earlier about some of the other actors that went out for auditions. One of the ones that got pretty far was Charlie Cox. He had a screen test with the producers, and the only thing that eventually he got turned down about was because they feared that his tendency to not keep eye contact would continue, which is a trait he developed
Daredevil
while playing Daredevil for so long.
Who was he trying to be?
Han Solo.
He was trying to be Han?
So, yeah, apparently he got pretty far, but they kept saying, like, he keeps doing that thing where he doesn't look at people. Poor guy.
That sucks.
Yep.
The Real Red, I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
But their tidbit for Solo is that Warwick Davis has a character in Enfys Nest's group. It's the same guy that's in the bleachers in the pod race in episode 1.
Yes, sir. So his name is Weasel, I think.
I know it's with a W.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be with a W.
Right?
Yeah.
It's always with a W.
So there's a character, I think its name is Weasel. I don't know. Someone can fact check me on that. But yeah, he appears in the stands. He's hanging out with like Watto or whatever, and he's real pissed off whenever Anakin wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually he will show up with Enfys Nest. So does Benthic Two Tubes. That's in Rogue One. He also is with Enfys Nest Cloud Riders.
He's with Nest and then goes with Saw?
Yep, goes with the Partisans. So that, Enfys Nest obviously is like a precursor to an actual rebel cell.
Rebel group, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the idea. I think that Benthic kind of starts there and it ends up with Saw.
Benthic.
Yep. And I'm happy that the Tognath are getting like their due, and a lot of people are more interested because the trailer for Zero Company has a Tognath Jedi in it.
Oh, okay. That's
So,
cool.
Yep. The Lando Chronicles, the little like journal that he does.
Yeah.
They are a reference to the Lando Calrissian adventure books, which is a trilogy of novels written by L. Neil Smith in 1983. The books are Lando Calrissian and the Mine Harp of Sharu, Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ocean, and Lando Calrissian and the Star Cave of Thornbaca. So
Okay.
I remember those books, and he specifically says the Shamu people in the movie, and that's one of the books right there. So again, like there's so many like little hidden details where they really like dived into the history.
That's a neat Legends thing.
Yeah,
to, like,
super cool.
Like it puts it like it's not canon,
No.
but something about it is canon.
And it makes so
know?
much sense, like, because you don't know, how many of those stories are going to be real. Like, Lando is,
Lando kind of says some things.
he says
you
some
know?
stuff, So like,
Oh,
they're taking,
Like,
yeah,
what was it whenever they're going to get the Falcon?
yeah,
Like, oh, man, they put this on my ship. Like, you guys can fix that, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has that kind of thing. And, like, I was like, is this even a ship?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the cool thing about this being that those are Legends references. So they're not quite right. They're not quite correct, but there's little elements in there of the Shamu people.
Yeah.
And even the Ocean thing, he talks about how I got one of the, I think he says like the Ocean moons or something like that. I acquired that moon. And in the book, it's not a moon. It's like a asteroid belt. So it's not a planet, so it wouldn't have a moon. but because it's Legends, the details don't have to be correct, and you might point to that
Maybe
Lando's
he's
lying.
maybe he's elaborating a little
Yeah.
bit on it. I'll give
Yeah.
him a little bit of. I'll give it a little bit more.
What's some other stuff? We still have to go through our Han list.
Yeah,
too.
we gotta do our Han list.
I'm gonna see if I have any ones that I was like, no, I definitely wanted to get to this.
I can barely remember the name of someone I just met. How do you remember all these obscure Star Wars names? I have conversations with Melanie a lot where like she doesn't know something from a movie, and like I'll tease like, how do you not remember this, Melanie? And like the kids have done it some too. I'm like, yeah, but she has important information like how to save a life if someone's like dying. You know, like I don't know some of that stuff.
Yeah,
like my stuff is like useless knowledge stuck in my head. You know,
I mean, I grew up like very good Catholic boy, and I was reading my catechism. And I was learning all the lore of the church and all the names and all the histories and all the dates. And then eventually, when I kind of lost that stuff, I needed something to replace it with. So I got into lore, and Zelda, and Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings, and that type of thing. But that's also because, like, I don't know anything else. I think of all the names that that I don't. It's equivalent exchange in that regard. L337's memory ends up being uploaded to the Millennium Falcon computer, explaining why the ship has such extensive navigational maps.
And it has a weird dialect.
It also adds a humorous touch for Empire Strikes Back. 3PO gets plugged into the Falcon to find out what's wrong. And he says it's rather rude.
The ship it's rude and has a weird dialect.
And it has the most peculiar dialect.
Yeah, I remember that.
But another thing that I really like in this fact that I didn't know, because I knew, we talked about that, but the Falcon actually doesn't start making the noises you remember of the Falcon until after she's integrated with the ship. Like before then, like the buttons and some of the other stuff, like it's close, but it's not quite there. But after she's uploaded, it sounds way more like the atmosphere of the Falcon from the original movies.
Really? I didn't know that.
That's really, really cool.
It's a neat sound design change.
Yeah, really, really neat. The novelization contains one scene beyond the movie ending. It shows Enfys Nest delivering the coaxium to Saw Gerrera, who is accompanied by a young Jyn Erso.
Yeah,
would have been kind of a cool thing in there.
And you get a little nod then for Benthic.
Yes, you absolutely do.
So he's already met him here, and this makes sense as to why he goes here.
Yeah.
So,
Thought that one was really cool too. I'll make this my last one just because it's so obvious. I can't believe I never thought of it before. At the start of the film, Han is wearing a white vest over a black shirt, the inverse of what he wears in the original trilogy, where he wears a white shirt with a black vest.
Huh.
I never thought about that, but now that I think about it,
reversed
I can't not notice that. That's what they did. He's literally, even in the Most Wanted cover, he's wearing that black shirt with the white vest. It's literally just color swapping his classic outfit.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you for some tidbits from Solo and some different things that I don't know, or some things I did know, but it's cool to talk about them. No,
we did this with another movie, so I'll have to do it for other relevant movies as they come up in future Badonkagonks. Because I like that. I mean, it's personal, but I like the standard of like, if I don't know it, there's definitely going to be some people out there that at least one of these things is going to be new to them.
Sure, yeah.
So now you know.
Cool. Well, thank you. All right, guys. Well, then we still have our top 5 Han moments that we wanted to talk about, or some of our favorite Han moments, at least.
What are our favorite Han Solo moments in all of Star Wars?
This is hard because, like, whenever I was like, all right, what are my favorite Han moments? Like, they didn't just like some characters. It's easy for me to just pick out some points.
Yeah.
Other ones, like, I don't know. I was trying to think about like the traditional. I'm sure everyone loves Empire Strikes Back when he's in the carbonite chamber and he's gonna, I love you. And he's like, I know, and I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Is that my favorite moment? I guess it's good, So I was trying to think of like around that too, of like, I don't want to just. Do I just want to pick that, or do I want to pick other stuff too?
I know that you kind of have your standard. Like, what do you think of first?
Mm-hmm.
You tend to use that as your standard for favorite. Like, what do you recall first? It's interesting. Yeah.
So, my top 2 I know I have, and then I have some other ones that I'm like, they're probably somewhere in the next 3, but I just don't know where exactly they want to sit.
Well, as all of our top 5 lists, we'll probably have more than 5. You never know.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll go with 5. This one I picked because it's also one that I think about a lot when I think about Han Solo. It's from A New Hope. I also tried to like pick things from various elements of Han Solo as much as I could. When they're on the Death Star, there's the point whenever like they're kind of like they're regrouped, they're out of the trash compactor, they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do exactly and stuff, and then it's like some stormtroopers come around a corner and he shoots one and just starts chasing after him. He yells, "Get back to the ship!" and he's running after him. I love when he comes around the corner to the group of a bunch of stormtroopers, especially after the special edition came out. Because in the original edition, it was like there were like 6 of them there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, they turned around. But when you come around there are so
There's like
many.
100, yeah.
And you're like, holy crap. And I love cutting to Chewie, and Chewie just sees a ton of blasters. He's like, oh. And then Han just comes running away. That is one of my like Han Solo moments that I always think about.
I mean, it's when his luck and confidence doesn't work out that's the most better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you. That's a solid one. I didn't even think about that one.
No.
But now my list is worse for not thinking about it. Man, well, I mean, I'll just go ahead and make mine then, number 5, in a very similar thing, which is we're having a slight weapons malfunction. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you.
How are you?
How are you? This doesn't work. Like, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to Han smooth talking. Like, he's so confident that, like, it shouldn't work. But most of the time it does.
Sometimes it does,
Sometimes it doesn't. But, like, he will do things being like, why did I believe him? It's like, well, he said it really confidently. You know, it's all you really need sometimes. But, yeah, so that would be mine. I every time I watch that part, I have to kind of reset to the beginning of that because I end up laughing over lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I get you. I like that part too. It's a really good like Han Solo kind of moment.
Yep.
For my next one, it's another one that I just kind of think of. Like I said before, I tried to like take the I know out of there. So
it's just
like
so iconic. It's almost like
it feels like cheating.
You're wasting a
Oh
slot.
yeah. Like everyone thinks of that one, you know?
Yeah, it's like Universal Captain.
Yeah.
I get you.
But the one that like I think a lot of, and I think we think of it, and we also mentioned it already on the podcast, was during Return of the Jedi, where like they're trying to get to Endor. It's like, I don't know, Chewie, this might not work. Just get close, but don't get too close. You know, I love the idea of he's just like, I don't know, fly casual, and like we talked about the walk casual and how it nodded to this stuff too. But that one there, and then we also had like a video where we were doing like the Star Wars like password game or whatever it was, and like we had a fun moment with that too.
Yep.
Like it just sticks in my head a lot of like a Han Solo quote is fly casual, and I like that one a lot too.
Agreed. That's a solid choice. A surprising amount of mine are from the sequel trilogy.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go with my next one. I mean, again, it's one of those moments that if you've watched the trailer, it doesn't hit you as hard. But the more I watch it, the more it hits me as intended. It takes quite a long time to get Han Solo and Chewbacca on the Falcon. You know, like it's like a half hour before that happens, or 40 minutes. I don't know. But when it happens and those two come on, you see Harrison Ford, you see Han Solo, much older. Chewie, we're home. You know, like it's a great trailer moment, and I will never forget like watching that for the first time.
You still had that moment on the trailer,
yeah,
but it didn't hit you in the movie the same way.
But the more time I have away from thinking about it as a trailer and it being just a function in a movie, especially for the third of a series of trilogies, to wait that long to hit, I don't know, man. It hits me so hard. Like, I legitimately will tear up just with those 2 words. We're home, you know?
We're home.
So it's got to be up there for me.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
We were home.
I struggle because I wanted to pull something. Where are we at? Are we at 3? I'm at 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. I wanted to pull something from Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
I struggle on 2 things. One of them is what I'm probably going to pick. My honorable mention on it is probably going to be that Han went after Luke on Hoth. One of those things where, like, after reading this book too, talking about friends and like putting yourself out there and like coming back, like especially with Kira and stuff too. I think this one is one where it's like Luke never came back. Like, you know, deck officer, like, you know, what's going on? Where is he? He's like, well, I'll see you in hell. And he goes out there.
Oh, dude.
But on top of that, like the fact that he went out there is great. Yeah. But I always think of him cutting open a tauntaun and his line of like, I thought they smelled bad on the outside. You know, I always think about that too. And like, just with this book and that, I think that moment means a lot.
Agreed.
But the other thing I also already mentioned that I really like is I think in Empire Strikes Back is like the only time we really get to see like Han Solo flying, and we have the asteroid scene, and like the asteroid scene, like there's kind of two parts where it's like going in and then hiding the worm, and then we fly out, and we go and we attach to the Star Destroyer. But like that whole section is like I said, the only time we really get to see Han like being a pilot and showing off how good he is and avoiding like all these TIE fighters who are hitting the rocks, whereas he is in a much bigger ship and he's avoiding them. And he doesn't have the Force, he doesn't have anything. He's just flying a big ship with his co-pilot Chewie, you know? So
those are great moments.
Like that is probably my number 3.
This isn't one of my moments, but like you're talking about moments of Han flying. I love that moment in Solo where he's like, I learned this from my friend Needles, who was the best. He's the best pilot I ever saw, and he died doing this. That makes me crack up every time. It was on my things I didn't know too, but people, I don't know if it's confirmed, which is but Needles is the name of the street racer kid from Back to the Future 2. And some people were saying like, oh, you think that's a reference?
Maybe, yeah. I've to rewatch it because I don't remember.
Me too.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
well,
I don't have encyclopedic memory for Back to the Future like I do Star Wars. So, if that's the case, it's only because of Star Wars that I know that.
Yeah.
What are we on? Am I on 3?
You're on 3. And my last 2 are my 2, so I'm happy for that. So as right now, I'm waiting to see what you have too.
My number 3 is the first meeting with Chewbacca on Mimban. Han gets thrown into the pit, and like, we haven't fed him for 3 days. And the way the beast is introduced is like you hear all the scary sounds of a bear and all the scary stuff, and the chain is pulling in, and he's attached to it, and it's very frightening until the reveal it's Chewbacca, and only with that reveal does his voice go up, and you hear the classic Wookiee sound, But there's just so many amazing moments in their little fight where like
kill him slower.
Killed him too fast, kill him slower. That's amazing. Like Chewie like pushing him down into the mud, and then Han like grabs his hair and pulls him to his like, ow!
Yeah.
I love that. Han bites him.
I love them going like, feed him to the beast. There's a beast?
There's a beast, yeah. But man, that's so funny. And then whenever like, he also has a couple lines of Shirley Wook, and I think Alden Ehrenreich like does an amazing performance of like, it feels like he's speaking the language, but not doing a Chewie impression, which I think is actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
I love when Chewie kind of realizes what he's doing, and he like throws him out there, and Han's like, okay, I know exactly where to go. Let's go. And he starts running this way, and Chewie runs that way, and he fucking just takes him off his feet. I love Solo, but that might be my favorite part of Solo, the introduction of Chewbacca until like where they go from like, these kind of like, I don't know. Chewie's such an interesting character because he's a dog. George Lucas thought of him as his dog that he would have. But it's like Chewie lives so long that he thinks of his pets as being like his dog. So like he has a relationship of a dog, but one that you don't find as necessarily as precious because that's one of the things.
That dog will live longer than me.
Yeah, it's one of the things that like a lot of people say, like if you have kids, like have a dog, and that teaches you to appreciate when things aren't around forever, because dogs love so hard, but they don't live all that long, But it's kind of like the inverse, where like Chewie is your dog that will outlast you, I just really love that idea. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Okay. My number 2 was also from Solo,
cool.
which we had a small reference to it earlier today. But it is in the White Worm lair. Like he's meeting Lady Proxima and talking to her, and like he's tired of being beaten and everything. And I love that the book also had a reference at one point when they're giving a device, and he's like, oh, maybe this is a thermal detonator. I think I've heard of these before, but he doesn't know what it is,
one.
right? And I love in the movie that he picks up this rock, and she's like, what's that? He's like, it's a thermal detonator.
Thermal detonator.
And now it's active. Nuh-uh, you just did that noise with your tongue. I love his bluff of that.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if he had an idea of what he was doing, but
Yeah.
then he gets to the point of like breaking the window and it helps their escape. But it either A was like, I mean, buy enough time if this doesn't work to come up with another plan, or B, if they fall for this, like I'll just get out of here because they'll think it's a thermal detonator. So
It's an amazing moment.
I just really like that. And
Yeah.
I think about that one from Solo various times.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of being like, it's
Yeah.
active.
Oleg Goo has a good point. I can't think of a single line, a single time that Han's smooth talking actually works.
We
We know it does because he's alive.
Do you count to Leia?
That type of smooth talking.
Does that count? My hands are dirty too. What are you afraid of? What's the one whenever like they're in the thing and they just like, shh, wait, and you're like they're kind of like waiting there.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, princess, we don't have time for anything else. He walks away. I don't know if that part is necessarily smooth talking, but like there's a lot of parts in the asteroid that like things are happening and you're feeling like that like sexual tension and stuff between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like maybe some of that stuff maybe works a little bit.
My favorite sexual tension thing is like, we don't have time to discuss this in a committee.
I am not a committee.
So funny.
But as far as like any other times that they do talking, man, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have anything specifically.
Free Metroid Hat, $5 super chat says, I love the delivery of Han Solo saying, "That's not how the Force works." One of my favorite lines from Han Solo for sure.
Oh, you're cold. Yeah,
It's
it's
a
that
pretty good
whole
one.
segment, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
That was your two?
That was my two, yeah.
Here's the thing. My top two they're both from the sequel trilogy. My second one will be what we're kind of just talking about. It's true. All of it.
All of it.
It works so well for me because it is the bookend of, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. And being like, look, old man, I've gone from one side of this galaxy to another. I've never seen anything that tells me there's an all-powerful force controlling everything. And then you have Han at the end of his life after he's suffered and lost and loved, and he can look at these kids and be like, hey, there's stuff out there. It's true. All of it, So I think the strength of that only works with the contrasts, but it shows a character arc that, like, even if you don't know all the expanded universe stuff and extra stuff, you can feel Han's lived experience, which, I mean, he is the Obi-Wan to these kids in that movie. He is the Obi-Wan figure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people tackle, like, oh, it's just retelling Star Wars. Like, well, that's the case. Han Solo is Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's the old man who shows up and kind of introduces you to what you didn't know, and
then you lose him.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. So my number one then
Number one.
is from the sequel trilogy. It's so whenever I was thinking about Han Solo stuff, I was like, okay, what are things I can think of? And I was like, I thought of the thermal detonator. I thought of the scene in the hallway with the stormtroopers. I thought of the asteroids flying and stuff. But then I was like, you know what? I said before, I've only really watched Rise of Skywalker 2 times, and I was like, there's that scene where Han Solo showed back up, and I want to go and I want to rewatch it.
You took my number one, Aaron.
I was wondering if you'd have it too, because I was like, I don't know if Eric would pick this as number one.
Dude,
I'm not sure.
It's my favorite scene in Rise of Skywalker. I think you go around, you look at people that hate Rise of Skywalker, like, yeah, but that one Han Solo scene, that was good.
Yeah. And like you might be like, oh, that's that's a Leia moment, not a Han Solo thing. But Han Solo shows up and he's talking to Ben, And whenever I watched it, like I like what he says to him. He says, "I miss you." There's the argument over the memory and stuff. But the thing that got me the most when I rewatched it was like we got to the part of him being like, "I don't know if I have the strength to do what I need to do." Like he says that line again, and then you have him go, "Dad." I know. And I was like, oh, man, they tied up all the different things, and I really liked it. And I was getting teary-eyed, and like, I haven't watched it since so long.
It's Kylo replaying the moment with his dad, but then there's also, like you said, there's a Leia. Leia's in there, and it's the implied I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
So, like, I didn't
Absolutely my number one.
I didn't pick the I know that I think everyone would go to. And when I got to this, I'm like, that's my number one.
This is why we're best friends. I did the exact same thing. I ain't picking that one. I'm picking this one.
Yeah.
This one hits me harder. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the other one like always existed for me.
Maybe.
And that was one that I got to experience like live in the theater. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that one is so good.
But I feel like that moment of Han is such a culmination of like the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Like so many things are in that one, and the scene's not that long either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 2 minutes maybe at most. I feel like it feels like so quick, but
Sure.
I really like that scene.
Well, I'll have to go for an alternate.
No, that's
my
we
number
can
one.
share number one. We can both be there, Eric.
Well,
you give an honorable mention.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can do your number one or whatever.
Well, then can I have 2 honorable mentions?
Well, sure, because I bet you I have one more on my list that I was like, I don't know if I need this one or not.
Yeah,
I bet it's on yours.
Yeah,
And I bet it's at Maz's castle.
Oh no, it's not actually.
Oh no, okay.
I mean, I'll make this my number one. I mean, it's the most classic Han Solo moment. It deserves to be there, so I'll put it there. Han's coming back to save Luke, takes out Vader. It's such a cool moment because if you think about it from Darth Vader's point of view, he must be like, who the fuck was that? That guy saved my son, also stopped me from destroying R2, my wife's droid. He's also hanging out with the droid that I built, C-3PO. He's also hanging out with the Wookiee who saved my Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. He also is hanging out with my daughter, Princess Leia.
Does he have all that? Does he connect all those?
He connects all there. He also, he shot the TIE pilot that stops me from doing all that stuff in an 18-wheeler. Who was that guy?
Who was that guy?
You know?
Yeah.
Like Chewbacca and Ahsoka have that connection. R2 is Anakin's droid. 3PO is Padme's droid. Like, he has no connection to Darth Vader except for all the connections to Darth Vader in that regard.
Sure, yeah.
And the fact that it's him that comes in, Yahoo! And he just, he does the shot. He came back. It wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
And, the Battle of Yavin was a hard-fought battle. There's a lot of starfighter pilots, and I imagine waiting until he's like, he just came at the end.
I was at the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't get.
Where's my medal?
Where's my medal? Where's Chewie's?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he just showed back up, but I
I
like that movie too.
I think I'll put that one there. I think it's classic.
I
and
can't
obvious.
think about it though without my flub version of that line that I had whenever we were doing that one game too. So let's
blow this kid and go home.
It kind of messed with it a lot. It's like, fuck, that's not what it was. But
yeah, you might have ruined my favorite moment, Aaron.
Yeah.
No, that's that would be my number one. Well, I'm curious then what your honorable mention is then.
My other honorable mention, because I was like in Force Awakens, like what do I think about from the Force Awakens? I think about can I see that? And he takes the bowcaster and he shoots it, and the guy just blows up. He's like, I like this.
I like this.
And I'm like, man, that's so strong, because they also are establishing how strong the bowcaster is
how
too.
Strong Chewie is, how strong the bowcaster is, and that's why Kylo Ren cannot fight a newly formed Rey very well.
But also makes me think of man, Han, you've never thought to ask him hey, can I try your bowcaster?
He has Beckett's weapon.
Yeah, I guess, but I feel like I'd have been like, let me try this thing at least once. Let me get some target practice with it.
That's something I never really thought about. Chewie doesn't have a bowcaster in Solo. He just uses a regular blaster.
Yeah, I don't know when he gets a bowcaster.
Yeah, he's not in that movie though. He has 2 bandoliers, no bowcaster.
Yeah, for the people saying what at one point we were playing a game or something like that, or I don't know what we were doing, and I went to quote that line for
it was a dyslexic moment.
Yeah, it was. I just mixed up lines, so I was like, he's like, what is it? Like, let's blow this thing and go home. And I just, kids, you're all clear. Let's blow this thing, go home. And
Great shot, kid.
I just mixed up some lines in it and put the kid in there too. And
it was one of the most honest, funniest moments of my life. So amazing, and it's continued to give me joy every time we bring it up. Well, my honorable mention, I actually brought the clip because I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. Have you seen the deleted scene from Star Wars from Solo: A Star Wars Story of
probably
Han, Chewie, and Beckett walking in the mountains?
I don't remember it. So
this is a scene with almost no dialogue, but it's one of my favorite interactions between my 2 favorite characters.
When you say walking in the mountains, is this like the train after the train?
After the train.
Okay.
Yep. So it's we'll go ahead and check out the deleted scene right here because I don't know if you've seen it or not.
What the?
I love Beckett watching him. Hey!
He's gonna run. I have not seen.
Have you never seen that?
No.
It's my favorite deleted scene. I understand that it might the humor and the earnesty might kind of undercut Val's sacrifice a little bit, so I kind of get not having it in there. But
Yeah, sure.
It is so it's almost with no dialogue. You just have Beckett, hey,
let's go,
and Chewie
yeah,
at the end, but.
There's so much that has just happened. So like the loss and stuff,
There's something like juvenile.
There's like a kid moment there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Chewbacca, being as old as he is the first one to throw a snowball.
Yeah.
Maybe it's also an element there where it's like, man, everything's so sad and everything is so like, you know what? I'm just gonna. Or it's an idea of like get some frustration at a little bit of what all has happened too.
There's something about it that like hits the like man's best friend, like a boy and his dog. Like trope a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like roughhousing and playing while this other person is somber and, heady. It's like, I don't know what it is about it, but there's like a little tiny story told in a snowball fight. And Jonas Sutamo he just nails Peter Mayhew's aura. There's a way Peter Mayhew walked.
Because that's when he was starting, like, taking over, right? Was it solo?
Or
did he do it in Force Awakens? Was Force Awakens the last Peter Mayhew, like, Chewie? Because wasn't he still...
I believe he was the last time he appeared. He couldn't appear in here. And Jonas Sutamo actually... I don't know if he ever released it, but he wrote a lengthy, very heartfelt letter to Peter being like, last time we worked together and now I'm kind of taking over. I just want to thank you I will keep you, keep you in my heart and in my body as I, perform this character past, your tenure as the character. But there's something about that scene, like the way he falls, the way he runs out of frame at the end, that feels so Peter Mayhew to me. So
feels Chewie.
Feels Chewie. That's
like
my
Chewie.
honorable mention.
I do like, and I'll talk about this because I thought about it during the train heist when I was watching it. But there's elements of like you want to bring these newbies on and all that kind of stuff too, from Val.
Yeah.
Where like they want like, can we get Bosk or get the whatever twins or
the Zan sisters.
Yeah.
I don't think has any ever appeared in canon. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who they are. That's why I was like whoever they were. But
I remember thinking like, oh, there's those two chicks from episode 4 that are like hanging out in the cantina. But that's not.
That's not them.
No.
But I was like, dude, if they wouldn't have been here, the success that they do have was only because of Han and Chewie. You know what I mean? Yep. Like without those two, like the Beckett was too confident on the information he had. They weren't worried about Infus Nest coming up at all. Once that happens, the other pilot, dang, what's his name? Rio, yeah. Yep. He gets shot, like he wasn't able to fly.
Cloud
so because
Rider
of having
skill,
Han and his flying ability, because he talked about being a pilot, and they're like, oh yeah, you're a pilot, kid. Because of him, because of Chewie and his strength and being able to actually uncouple, like those three would have just died if it was just those three. And I don't know who else. They said they didn't have time to find anyone else, but like because of those two, it was as successful as it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's nice to see that they were able to pull off the things they needed to, even if the rest of the team
Agreed.
And it wasn't even that the rest of the team was doing bad.
No,
they just got invaded because of Infus Nest, because Beckett was too egotistical or whatever to even Dryden. It's like you should have accounted for Nest to show up,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was one of the things I thought about when I was watching.
It's also like kind of unfair that they're even there in the first place because Beckett, this is an unsanctioned mission from Beckett because he's saying like, I'm technically stealing from these other guys who I have a loose alliance with, and we know that because of the Shadow Collective under Darth Maul, he's collected all this stuff. So he's like, but I'm still going to do it anyway, so I'm going to send you guys to go do it. And if you die, I mean, it might even be better, So yeah, Han being there does help them out more. But then it creates the avenue for Tobias Beckett to try to take advantage. And
though I do appreciate Beckett, like, in that movie, in that point there, too. He was like, no, I'll go talk to Dryden.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who you guys are.
Yeah.
And if you guys go, you will be stuck under him forever.
Yeah.
And he was trying to give him an out. But also, it's like, where are we going to go? What solution do we have right now? So
Beckett's one of my favorite characters. I love that, like, Han shoots him first. Because you see, like, Beckett, like, he puts his finger on his trigger. Like, he was going to shoot. And he says, like, good job, kid. I was definitely going to shoot you. Like, in his death, he was proud he taught Han something. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what an introduction when he's coming in like in Mimbon.
Oh, and
he
then bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I love it. I always love dual wielding like weapon stuff.
I
Anyway,
think we need more gunslingers.
yeah,
and-
like I always think of Rex too, with him having his double pistols and stuff. Like I love
absolutely.
that. So when I think of smugglers and scoundrels and some of them, I love them being like dual wielding
Me too.
pistol people. It's so fun.
But I kind of want more gunslingers in Star Wars. That archetype I think fits so well.
The Mando's close to that, but he only uses one.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
yeah, and they also kind of like they rely on their armor a lot. Like their religion is weapons, so they're not like The cool thing about gunslinger is like all I need is this one thing right here, or two if you want. But there's like the style and flair that Mandos tend not to have. They're more serious and they take war seriously, so they're not really going for style points necessarily. They're just trying to do what it is they do. Whereas to Beckett, he likes the style. He wants to play the Valicord back on Glian's Leam,
Yeah.
which is Kit Fisto's homeworld. So his paradise is where Kit Fisto's from. Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well, guys, I think that's everything for Han Solo today and the Solo movie and the Most Wanted book.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us, for contributing into some questions and some different tidbits and stuff as we talked about everything for Han Solo. We will be back then on August 21st for, what was it called?
Heir to the Jedi by Kevin Hearn.
Heir to the Jedi. So make sure you guys read that. We'll be back talking about that book, and we'll have some more things to talk about with Star Wars. So in the meantime, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Go, go, go.